Souls-like games bring me a level of enjoyment that walks a fine line between ecstasy and madness. From the challenging yet so satisfying boss fights to the endless, repetitive traversal of menial platforming sections to the point where your mind engages autopilot until you reach a boss. Grime deeply resonates with these sentiments, but in my opinion falls a bit short due to its lack of depth. Hey guys, it's Cody with Indie Game Pulse. Let's get right into it. Grime bills itself as a Souls-like Metroidvania in which you destroy strange creatures, absorb their energy, and grow as you progress through a depressing, mutated world. So let's talk about the story and the strange creatures before we get to the gameplay and RPG features. Your story begins as a material collapses in on itself, spitting you out as a sort of black hole creature called the Vessel. Your nature allows you to absorb the energy of creatures and enemies around you, but you have to walk before you can run, and before that you have to grow legs. On your journey, which to me is still a bit cloudy, you'll encounter some creatures who aren't enemies and who provide more insight into where you came from without telling you outright, and also give you backstory to this bleak world and the existence of its inhabitants. To me, the story feels a bit forgettable, if I'm being honest. I know where I'm supposed to be headed, but I don't really know why. I don't remember if my character has any particular motivation to head this way. The small cast of characters that I met along the way, I really can't even recall their names or anything interesting that they said because it's all so cryptic. I like the vague lore, but I just don't feel anything for these characters, like I could get the same information from a painted signpost. Where the game does deliver for the most part is the gameplay, so let's move on to that. You're quickly given 2 weapons to swap between, and as you run, jump, and climb your way through the dark and dangerous world, you'll eventually find more weapons to equip should you have the right stats. I'll come back to this in a minute, but it's probably my biggest gripe with Grime. The combat is slow and methodical, relying heavily on your absorb ability, which acts as a parry if the enemy has a shield shown in the health bar, or it will absorb their energy, killing them and giving you breath, which can be accumulated to eventually restore your health. You have a single jump and a dash, but you can't use them at the same time. A stamina bar also dictates how many actions you can perform, including dashes and attacks. All these stats are shown nicely in the upper left corner of the screen, and they're not hard to follow after about an hour in the game. Grime also implements a lot of Metroidvania aspects, platforming, ability-gated exploration, lots of secret areas to find, but when you do find these secret areas, every single item you pick up will be just this white orb laying on the ground. To me, these white orbs don't inspire a lot of wonder, and whenever you get a new item that you haven't seen before, you have to open your menu and read the description to figure out what it does. I've gotten away from the combat a bit, but I want to mention that the boss fights, while challenging, really come down to learning the timing and executing your absorb move, since it does immense amounts of damage compared to your weapons. As a Metroidvania, the game is very fun and addicting, since I always wanted to discover more of the map and find all the hidden areas and shortcuts. The discovery of the map is aided by activating beacons, which will show where you've already explored and will from then on show new areas you explore as well, so long as it's within the same realm, for instance, the Unformed Desert. The surrogate locations, where you can upgrade your character and unlock new abilities, also act as your respawn point should you die, and trust me, the surrogates are few and far between, which leads to exploration ad nauseum, which is not uncommon for the Souls-like genre. But as a Souls-like action RPG, I think Grime really fails to deliver. The RPG elements of the game feel shallow and lifeless, like they've just been tacked on to add to the gameplay, but I think even then they offer very little. There are 5 abilities that you can upgrade throughout the game: health, force, strength, dexterity, and resonance, but the latter 3 only matter in regards to which weapons you can equip, although resonance does have one other cryptic use. And when you're in this upgrade screen, you can't view your weapons and their requirements, so if you want to work towards a certain weapon, you have to back out to your inventory to view it, and then go back into the upgrade menu to choose which abilities to level up. But, and here's where things really fell flat for me, the weapon requirements are denoted by the ability symbol, and then a letter and a number. It all looks like a mathematical formula, and after 5 hours of gameplay, I'm still not entirely sure what these letters and numbers mean. I think the green numbers on the left are the total points you need in that skill to equip the weapon. The RPG elements that I do like are the traits that you can build up. You unlock new ones by absorbing a certain number of specific enemies, and then you can use the red gems to build your personal playstyle accordingly, some offering near standard health increase and better health regen, and others that deal more damage when striking an opponent's back. All of these are scalable and increase in cost with each level you advance them, but the biggest oversight in my opinion is the armor. I mentioned earlier that whenever you find those glowing orbs which turn into objects, that you have to read their description to figure them out, while the armor is not even armor. There are no stats associated with them, so when you get excited that maybe your defense or absorb actions will be buffed because you just picked up these cool new pants, just know it's only cosmetic, which is very disappointing. Overall, I found several of the items to just feel trivial, especially the ones that allow you to consume them to gain mass, the game's currency for leveling and purchasing items. But in order to consume them, you have to equip them, then go back into the game and consume them, and then go back into the menu to equip whatever you actually want in that slot, like explosives or throwable nails. The world is cool, and I enjoyed discovering the new biomes and gawking at the giant hands creeping down from the ceiling, or the broken bones and faces evident in the background. There's a lot I want to know about this place, and perhaps in time I will know it. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons I would consider picking Grime back up. The lack of information, the vagueness that I spoke of earlier, works as intended on someone like me who wants to connect all the dots and find all the converging points of the world, but I just wish the story so far held my interest. I like the dark and moody atmosphere, sometimes feeling a bit too dark and claustrophobic and giving me that sense of foreboding you only get when turning off the last light in the house before running to your bed. The creatures and enemies are all misshapen, like unfinished sculptures or creatures that have been spawned from the landscape, maybe similar to our vessel, although no one else has a sweet black hole for a head like we do. So the question is, should you play Grime? I don't recommend it, but I also don't not recommend it. I think this is an average game, but one that will still appeal to some of you out there. For me, the jank and lack of story and RPG elements will probably keep me from finishing the game, but for the hardcore Souls-like fans, it could be something that you really do end up enjoying. Thank you very much to my 1,272 subscribers for your support. If you like what you see here at Indie Game Pulse, join us on Discord and consider helping us grow by supporting us on Patreon. Links are in the description. For more top indie game countdowns and reviews, check out the videos on your screen now, and I'll see you on the other side.